Hello there. I was watching this video from First Order LEGO when at around 3.5 minutes in, something they showed really caught my eye. He showed this DARTH REVAN Mosaic as an alternate build for the LEGO Art the Sith set, and immediately I just loved the look of it. I have 3 of the Sith sets displayed as the 3 solo builds, but I was always iffy about displaying Kylo Ren because of my intense hatred of the sequel trilogy. It's cool to have one mosaic from every Star Wars movie trilogy, but I like to remove the sequel trilogy from existence wherever possible, so the thought of changing it to some Old Republic representation really excited me. The instructions I used are from Tanjan Lego on Rebrickable. I'll put a link at the top of the description if you want to try this for yourself. The instructions are free, which makes sense because you could piece it together just by looking at it, but especially if you're building it from scratch, it does make it really convenient to have it in PDF format from start to finish. If you do want to try this for yourself, I'd recommend doing it sooner rather than later because the actual Sith set is rumored to be retiring at the end of the year, so it'll just get more expensive if you leave it too long. Last I heard anyway. The entire process took about 5 hours for me from start to finish, and it can be divided into like 3 distinct sections. There's the disassembling, the sorting, and the actual building. For the disassembly, I originally tried to use the brick separator to just flick the studs off it without having to disassemble the whole thing, but this turned out to be way harder than it looked. Taking apart the frame was really easy. It was taking apart the studs and removing the studs from the frame that was the challenging part. Flicking the studs all over my desk would be super messy, and it would make it really difficult to actually sort the pieces and collect them all after the fact. So what I ended up doing was taking the completed set over to my bed and kind of angling it, kind of facing downwards, so that when I flicked the studs off, it would just kind of shoot into the quilt. I'd highly recommend doing it this way because the quilt kind of cushioned the studs as they flicked off and caught them, so they didn't bounce around and fly all over the place, making it really difficult to clean up and collect the studs after the fact. Also, scooping them all up and collecting all the studs afterwards for sorting later and reuse was a lot easier because you could use a cup or your hand or whatever and kind of make a divot in the quilt so all the studs would just kind of fall into your hand or a cup, which just made it a lot easier. The process of actually removing the studs though was a lot more painful and long than you would think. You could only do one line at a time, so at most you could scrape like 6 to 8 studs off at once, and when there's like 2,400 studs to remove, you can imagine how long this took. It was also surprisingly painful because as you're scraping them off, you're pushing into the block, and when you're doing that, you kind of hit your fingers on the edges of the block, so I got like 3 hangnails in the process of doing it. For sorting, I couldn't think of a better way to do it other than just pouring all of the studs onto my desk at once and organizing it by color manually. I don't think there is a better way you could have done it. I used 8 lunchbox type containers, about this size, for all the colors when I initially sorted them, but actually taking the studs out of the lunchboxes was kind of more difficult than it was worth, so I ended up pouring them into just piles on the desk, arranged in a half circle around the piece that you actually attach the studs on. This took a lot of time and was a lot of effort, but this wouldn't be a problem for you if you just bought the set new because they organized the studs into bags of the same color for you from the get-go, so you wouldn't have to go through all that effort. You just have to pour them into a container or on your desk and you're free to just start building. From there, the build was exactly the same as any other LEGO art set. It's just a color by numbers thing. Here's what the final product looks like alongside the 2 sets from the other 2 good trilogies. I think it's a huge improvement over Kylo Ren and blends in to take its place perfectly. Even the way the lightsaber was designed, it kind of creates a bookend effect with Maul when it's displayed like this. I just think it just looks better. It looks like a more complete trio of sets. It looks like it was designed this way from the get-go. So yeah, couldn't be happier with the outcome really. Definitely worth the time and effort to do it. If you do it with a fresh set as well, this is even better. I'd highly recommend doing it like this. So yeah, that's it really. Farewell.